Hello everyone, LoremasterofSotek, and I am so excited for today. So, what? What? Tiger Warriors? So, yeah, it's happening. I am extremely over the moon with excitement. I had really hoped, based on the little hints we had received, it felt pretty certain. I think that we were going to get the Tiger Warriors, but to have actual full confirmation that, like, oh yeah, no, we're getting freaking Tiger Warriors is insane. This is insane. This is not quite the same level, but almost on par with finding out with Total War Warhammer 3 that Cathay was even coming to the game. The Tiger Warriors of Warhammer Fantasy, they were a myth. They were most, like, it was practically a joke most of the time you would see it, that you see these like big great maps of Warhammer Fantasy, and somewhere on that map you would have you see like the map of the world, and then in the map of the world you'd see end, and in end there'd be one dot. There'd be one little dot in end that would be called the Eye of the Tiger Cave or something like that. And it was like, okay, very clever, not clever at all, goofy shit, Warhammer standard. And like, that was it. Like, they maybe had one or two sentences of lore that were kind of like, they're like a dart throw in the dark. Maybe they would show up with literally one sentence in addition, and then in the roleplay game they got like a little bit of some mentions, but they were never real. And now we have like just a mini pack that's basically just like Tigerman, just rah, right in your face, and that's just what the pack is. Like the whole thing is just rah, tigers. I am elated. I am beyond elated. When there were little talks about like leaks and stuff with like Tigerman, it was like, it'd be cool. Like I try to stay out of leaks because like I feel like it's a crapshoot, but like it'd be cool. And I mean, as you'll see, this one seems to pretty much confirm that the Lords of Shengyang idea, at least everything conceptually in it, is probably true. I'll do a separate video tomorrow where I'll talk about everything else that's in that particular leak. I'm gonna go look everything up in it because I never did content on it because I don't really cover leaks traditionally. But this one's like 1-to-1 with some stuff that was in it. I mean, obviously, but once again, we'll talk about that whole thing separately because I think it also had like Takala as a free LC Lord, whereas she ended up being like a full DLC Lord. So like some parts of it were right, some parts of it were wrong, but so we'll have to go back and look at that. But yeah, so we have an article that in part of, oh man, to think just getting the end times this year, for me, in my opinion, is huge. Like the stuff that's going to be coming in the end times is absolutely fantastical. Between Nagash being in his full big badass form, and we're finally getting Neferata. We're getting oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. I just opened this and got to look at it, and like thanks to CA for letting me see this just a little bit early so I can make a video that'll come out. But it's like I just got stun locked the moment I opened the freaking article. But there's so much cool stuff coming in the end times. Like there's a lot of things that I wish I could tell y'all about, but I'm really excited for y'all to find out about. And I had no idea what was going to be in this. To me, this is a complete shock and surprise. And when I was there last year to record the whole the show thing, I was literally there to talk about Neferata, and the whole thing was, oh yeah, we're gonna do Neferata as the mini pack, and she'll come with some vampire stuff, and then we'll do a Vampire Counts free LC rework, and then we'll go on to the end times and yada yada. Only for them to turn around and be like, oh, haha, JK, we're actually going to roll Neferata in with Nagash, and we're going to do something else with Cathay. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, Dragon, I guess, the fact that we're getting a full-on Tiger Warrior focus pack. Okay, let's dive into it. So Bashiva and the Tiger Warriors. Hi everyone, this year marks the 10th anniversary of Total War Warhammer, and we want to begin by thanking you for being part of this journey. Whether you've been with us since the start, woo, or joined along the way, your support, feedback, and patch for the series mean a great deal to us. Right now, the team are hard at work on a variety of content that's going to inject some exciting new experiences into the game. The big addition being Lords of the End Times, which arrives later this summer, armed with 4 new legendary lords, including the great necromancer himself, Nagash. Alongside this, we'll also have Update 9.0, which includes the long-awaited Vampire Counts update and Neferata as the free legendary lord. We're still on track for release this summer, for later this summer, and look forward to sharing more with you close to the time. Yeah, from what I've heard, everything seems to be on schedule, so that's good. Before all that, though, we have something special you'll be able to experience first. Our very first character pack. To mark the occasion, we've worked closely with Games Workshop to introduce an entirely new character to Warhammer lore, Bashiva the Desert Tigress, the White Tiger of Shangyang, accompanied by a deadly host of mercenary Tiger Warrior units. We've been discussing bringing her to life for quite some time, so we're thrilled to finally share her with you. She represents another step into the mysteries of Grey and Cathay, and we're grateful for the opportunity to debut a brand new aspect of the setting. Since Bashiva and the Tiger Warriors are fresh additions, not just to the game, but to the entire tabletop setting and the lore and everything else, today's blog is primarily about giving you a small first look at who the White Tiger is, how she fights, as well as spotlighting one of the mercenaries who will be supporting her armies. Think of this as your introduction, with more info coming to this release. We're getting Indian units in Total War Warhammer. Like, they're mercenaries, obviously, but like, this is like when the ogres came into Total War Warhammer 2, at the end of Total War Warhammer 2, where like, they introduced the ogre kingdoms through like ogre mercenaries, and then we got the full ogre kingdoms. Like, it is, I feel like it's still basically impossible, but it feels so much more like, holy shit, this could be happening, that we might actually see a full end release for Total War Warhammer before the game's like over. Like, it won't be this year by any stretch of the imagination, might not even be next year, but there is a chance, at least, that we're going to be seeing the Kingdoms of End in Total War Warhammer. Like, I feel for sure we're going to see them in tabletop. Like, I feel I've heard things that seems to heavily suggest that End is going to be arriving on the tabletop, but like not anytime super soon. But the idea that we might get to see them in Total War, oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm so excited that just the possibility is such a big fucking deal. So the character pack. In case you're not familiar, we want to take a quick moment to reintroduce character packs and explain what they bring to the game. These are smaller, focused content drops built around a single character with their own unique feature, supported by a handful of exciting new units. For us, they're an exciting experiment, another way to give you fresh tools for deepening the races you already love and to add meaningful variety to your campaigns and battles. As this is the first pack of its kind, we've worked hard to make Bashiva's debut feel meaningful by giving her a strong identity, a mixture of new units and enough depth to stand proudly on her own or slot naturally alongside the might of Zhao Ming, Miao Ying, and Yuan Bo's armies. Here's what you could expect. So for £3.99, $4.99, or €4.99, you get Bashiva, a legendary lord with an anti-infantry focus, one lord that has an anti-large focus, who I believe we saw in the leak, if memory serves. I think it's called like the Tigerman Asai or something like that, but it's like a melee. It seems to be like a melee Tigerman character with like a big two-handed stick. The spellcaster, which I believe we see later in the article, and then 3 unique units One of the units is a dual wielding unit, one of the units is a hybridized unit, and the last unit is an anti-large unit. I'm curious what unique units means in this instance, considering it's noted as like dual wielder hybrid anti-large. Like, I'm assuming it's not 3 Tiger Warriors that like look the same but have different weapons. I don't think it's going to be like Tigerman Warriors with dual weapons, Tigerman Warriors with weapon and javelin, and then Tiger Warrior with like great weapon for anti-large, because I feel like they wouldn't have called them unique in that case. I'm not sure I'm not sure if that's like, oh, these are different variants, or if each of the unique variants or each of the unique units also has variants. Because if they have variants, I don't know why they would call out what their speciality is of like, oh, this unit's a dual wielder unit, but that uses a hybrid unit. But if they have variants, then whatever. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very curious about the units. Also included is a unique campaign feature to set Bashiva aside, final battle, quest battle, etc. I will say I really hope this. I don't think Grand Cathay needs a lot of tweaks, but I would really love to see them just take another shot at Miao Ying and Zhao Ming's campaigns and maybe make them feel unique. Like give them gimmicks. Yuan Bo has so many cool little tools and tricks going on. I would really love to see Miao Ying like get a mechanic that focuses around like the forges of Nangao and her defense of the Great Bastion, and then Zhao Ming being able to focus much harder on like alchemy. Like the alchemical process, like creating weapons and armor, and maybe like upgrading his troops with unique gimmicks or getting cool upgrades for his alchemists. That would be really cool. I don't need that in this, but I would love that in this. Okay, it's free content. We get a legendary hero. I don't know what I'm not sure if the legendary hero is going to be a Cathayan legendary hero. I assume it will be a Cathayan. If it's an anti-large melee hero, it could be the Terracotta Sentinel. I can't remember what his name is, but there is another Terracotta Sentinel that exists, because we have Satangs, something like that. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on names all of a sudden. We have the one with the big bow. I believe there's I think it's like Yang Sing or something like that. But there's a big melee one supposedly out there somewhere. But I believe in the leak there might be some kind of human looking guy. He's either like a human or an ogre that looks like he's like a big melee hero. So it could be that dude. It's definitely not the blind artificer, the grand artificer of Nangao, whose name I'm also blanking on. Good grief. My brain's like, interesting to see what that is. Let's see. Note, if you don't own any Grand Cathay content, don't worry. With the purchase of Bashiva, you'll also get access to the core Grand Cathay roster to ensure you get a complete experience. Awesome. Okay, cool. So you don't need to own Grand Cathay, which is interesting because that would mean you don't need to own Warhammer 3 or Shadows of Change. It sounds like if you own any of the core Warhammer games, then you'll be able to just jump in with, because I can't remember when they're releasing the update where you only have to own one of the core games in order to play Immortal Empires. So like you can own Warhammer 1 and play Immortal Empires. I don't know. I don't think that's out yet. I don't know if it's going to come with this update, because if you don't own any Grand Cathay content, that by definition means you don't own Warhammer 3. And if you don't own Warhammer 3, the only way you could play Bashiva would be if you had access to Immortal Empires. But so like maybe that's going to come out with this. Rich Aldridge. Bashiva and her company of Tiger Warriors really enriched the wider armies of Grand Cathay by giving them this fierce and aggressive predatory edge that both expands their role-playing potential and their tactical flexibility. Oh my god, look at her! Her. Oh man! she looks so fucking cool. Oh, okay. So first of all, so for Bashiva, love this design. Oh, she's got like a punch blade looking thing. Oh my god, the design is fucking sick. So super cool design. I love, you can definitely tell that she's associated with Shenyang because she's got like all of the like vibrant, almost warpstone greens in the like the teal aspects of her outfit. Oh my god, she looks amazing. Tigerman looks so cool. I also I will give props to Creative Assembly and Games Workshop for not like pulling the classic like Warcraft thing, I guess, of like when making, oh, if this is the female, if it's a female Tiger Man, then it's got to have like big human titties. They're like, no, just make it, it's fine. I also love that she's a white tiger. I think that's a very cool way to tie her uniquely into Grand Cathay, where, you know, when a lot of people think like the Siberian tigers or the white tigers, that's often something that's like kind of an exotic, from an American perspective, is like this exotic Far Eastern unique type of tiger. She looks so cool. Oh my god, she looks so fucking, I love this design. Lore introduction, please inject it into my veins and let me die in joy. As the head of the Tiger Court, okay, so she's the fallen head of it. Bashiva stands as one of the mighty lords of Shenyang, a mighty sovereign to whom every Tiger Warrior commander ultimately bends the knee. Though she bears the revered title of White Tiger, hers is only the latest chapter in a legacy far older than her name. The first White Tiger carved her destiny in heroic fashion, guiding the highland tribes across the towering mountains of heaven, through blistering western deserts, and into the lands ruled by the Iron Dragon Zhao Ming. There she swore fealty to the Western Master, forging a bond that has endured for centuries. Each new White Tiger rises to the mantle of the last, renewing ancient oaths and stepping into a legacy older than most kingdoms. No records exist of how many champions have risen. What is certain is this: the White Tiger appears whenever the tides of chaos surge. Each time they take up the mantle, they once again lead their people into the heart of the Everchosen's army. What? The Everchosen? Driving the Tiger Warrior straight into the storm. Through these countless cycles, the White Tiger achieved what few beings of any age can claim: to have stood in battle against both Azavar Kul and Archaon. Holy shit, that's huge. Holy shit, that's huge. That is such a huge lore change. Like that, oh, that's so fucking cool. Okay. So, lore-wise, this is super interesting. So the White Tigers are it's like an immune response. Like so when the tides of magic surge up and like chaos, there's about to be a great incursion. One of the Everchosens. It seems like this is suggesting that every time a White Tiger rises in response, which means that we also have like White Tigers that are like being drawn. The Tiger Warrior is being drawn to like, it's a predator that's the world is producing in response to dealing with the threat of an Everchosen, which is so fucking cool. The fact that, so the idea that the very first White Tiger centuries ago, which is that's pretty opaque. Centuries ago could be like, oh, it happened during Sigmar's time, or it happened thousands of years before Sigmar, or oh no, it's like relatively recent. So a highland tribe, so a tribe that already lived kind of up in the mountains of heaven, for some reason left and went over the mountains, through the desert, the Warpstone Desert, and into the lands by Zhao Ming. So that does tell us something, which is that one of the things we know from that, can say from that with surety, is that this means that the original White Tiger happened after the Warpstone meteor that was summoned to destroy the ogres, because the Warpstone Desert existed. but before the Warpstone desert, it was just like a beautiful, great grasslands. That was the ogre's native homeland. So the Celestial Dragon Emperor and the Astromancer's Court have already annihilated the ogres and created the Warpstone desert before the White Tiger does this. Now, what's interesting to me is I'm curious why she did this. Why leave End? Why go to Grand Cathay? Because one of the things you have to keep in mind, and something that I think a lot of people forget about Total War, is that Total War Warhammer ultimately is completely at the mercy of Games Workshop and its lore and design. So this is not like, oh, the Tiger Men are just in Total War Warhammer because like CA was like, oh, we're just gonna sneak them in there. No, this is the Tiger Men. Games Workshop has designed them to fundamentally be a part of Grand Cathay. That there is this faction of Tiger Men with the court of the Tiger Men and all this other stuff who are part of Grand Cathay and have been for hundreds and hundreds of years. And there's a story there. Like, why did they leave End? I'm very, very curious what would drive them from End. Because presumably, because they're called mercenaries, the vast majority of the Tiger Men are still in End. They're a native species to End, unless we have a huge lore change coming up. But seeing as they came from End, this seems to suggest, then like, why leave, right? I will say this is a huge lore change. So according to this, the White Tiger have stood in battle. So the White Tigers have fought Azavar, Kul, and Archaon. This means Bashiva canonically fights Archaon. That is huge lore change. Because this basically means that the End Times has been rewritten immediately. Because what this says is that Bashiva fights Archaon. And if you know the original End Times lore, you'll know that because Grand Cathay did not exist at the time, and also Games Workshop's writing was not very good at this time, the only note we got about Grand Cathay, literally the only note, if you read, so for the End Times, there's 5 main giant books. And in each of those 5 books, Cathay is never mentioned. Never, not once. It's never mentioned. And then there are 5 Black Library books that came alongside them that were written by some of the authors that were working on the End Times, but they like argued with one another because the writing was so incoherent, to the point like you'd read one book and then the big book would say something completely different, or vice versa, which made it impossible to figure out what was going on. You kind of just had to like be like, oh, I guess I prefer this version because this version says that version's wrong. And in the final Black Library book, we get a brief thing when Grimgor shows up like halfway through the story, where Grimgor Ironhide kind of gets like a bit of a flashback moment to be like, oh, what's Grimgor been up to during the End Times? And in his flashback, he basically is like, oh yeah, I destroyed all of the lands of the East. So he wiped out Grand Cathay, and he wipes out Zarnagrund, and he took over the Ogre Kingdoms by killing Grease's Goldtooth in a duel. Well, in a big fight, but it was kind of like a duel between them. And we were all like, oh, okay. That was it. So like Grand Cathay just gets written off in a sentence in a Black Library book, not even in the core campaign book. And that was it. But this says, nope, that's not the full story, if that's even the story. Now they're saying, no, Bashiva fights Archaon. Now, she almost certainly will die fighting Archaon, but the fact that End at least, Grand Cathay at least gets to be like, no, we were there, we we participated. That's huge. And also, of course, getting confirmation that a White Tiger is going to fight Azavar Kul, that's huge. So that means in Warhammer the Old World, I would bet it's not going to be Bashiva. I'm assuming Tigermen are not like super extended long life. They might be. It could be that Bashiva will come to tabletop, but I would not be surprised if for the old world we get a different white tiger that is fighting against Asvar Kul. But this is a character that, to me, this screams that GW is saying we will have our own white tiger character that fights Asvar Kul. But because it specifically talks about like the countless cycles of that, there has been a white tiger for both of those scenarios. Oh my, this is so fucking cool. All right. Battlefield gameplay. On the battlefield, Bathsheba fights exactly as the tales describe. A silent shadow that closes distance with unnerving speed before striking her prey. She excels at hunting down infantry, carving through tightly packed ranks with the blades of Shangyang. Twin Katara burning with the Iron Dragon's fire. She dual wields those things. Oh, she's so fucking cool. Bro, they're like the Halo blades. She dual wields them? Are you serious? That's so fucking cool. Oh my god, I can't wait to see her animations. Okay, and also, okay, so she's like a stealth anti-infantry specialist. Honestly, this makes me think the fights between her and Deathmaster Snitch are gonna be intense. Like, these two seem like they're gonna be boom against each other. But, you know, cat eats rat. Each strike not only scorches her victims, but weakens their resistance to flame, letting her plow through fights the moment she commits. Okay, so from that tells me Blades of Shangyang definitely give her fire damage, which is cool. It also sounds like they probably have an active ability that when she activates it, she will give her enemies weakness to fire damage, which is something we've had in the game. It's a really, really powerful effect. Oh, you know what? This is going to make Bathsheba combo really, really well with the Regiment of Renown that we have. The Regiment of Renown, the Bandits of the Silver Road. I think that's what it is. There's a bandit unit. I think it's like the cheapest Regiment of Renown for Grand Cathay. Their whole thing is that they shoot arrows that make you flammable. So they have fire arrows and they also make you take more damage from fire. So she is going to be super good with them, which is awesome. Her agility is at the core of her playstyle. She darts between threats, repositions effortlessly, and uses her mastery of stealth to pick the perfect moment to appear. I have to say, it's very funny to me. I'm not sure how big they are. I'm assuming that Tiger Warriors are going to be like a little bigger than human. I don't know if they're going to be Minotaur sized or if they're going to be like Gore sized. I bet they'll be larger than human, but I'm curious if they'll still count as infantry or if they'll count as large. Because large would be cool. I hope they're more like monstrous infantry. Cathay really doesn't have any monstrous infantry to speak of, so I feel like they would fill a really nice niche. But the fact that they're like hardcore, like aggressive motherfuckers alone is going to help Cathay so much. Not that Cathay is like terrible by any means. Oh, she has another item. Her signature item, Heaven's Gate, builds on that stealthy identity by letting her move rapidly across the battlefield without being seen. Whether she's flanking, ambushing, or diving straight into exposed infantry lines, Bathsheba is designed to feel inevitable, a fast, merciless predator who dictates when and where the fight begins. With speed, stealth, and explosive opening damage, she rewards players who think like hunters, patient in setup, ruthless in execution. Okay, so Heaven's Gate, based on that description, I would be willing to bet that Heaven's Gate is an item that probably greatly increases your movement speed and makes her unspottable in stock. So it probably makes her completely invisible, have a very, very, very short spotting distance so that she's almost impossible to see, and makes her run like really fast. I'm kind of hoping, I'm wondering if she'll have like an animation where like she runs on all fours, or if it's just going to be that she's just like going the full Olympic sprint, just like hauling ass. Oh, she sounds so cool. Josh King, battle designer. We want Bathsheba to feel like an apex predator who stalks the battlefields like a ghost. She isn't a frontline tank or a flashy spellcaster. She's the quiet dread in the back of your mind. And by the time you've noticed her, it's already too late. So she'll definitely, She'll definitely be, I think, the overall weakest of the Grand Cathay legendary lords, just because she's not a dragon that's a spell casting melee monster specialist, but she's going to be significantly cheaper and probably much more specialized, which I think is really fucking cool. I love this. Oh, we got more. Oh, we're only halfway through. Oh no, I want more. The Tiger Warriors, lore introduction. So, who exactly are the Tiger Warriors? Tales say they were shaped by the old ones. Oh, okay. So, all right. I would not have expected them to be a old one precursor, or old one, not precursor, but an old one upraised species. Okay, what's interesting, it looks like, I can't tell for sure, but it looks like Bashiva only has 4 fingers. Yeah, no, she definitely only has 4 fingers. Unless these angles are just like perfect and she's hiding that 5th finger exceptionally well. It looks like she has 4 fingers and 4 toes. This is really interesting because there are specific species within Warhammer Fantasy. When you're dealing with factions that only have 4 digits, you're dealing with really specific lore-coded messaging of that. The lizardmen, for instance, only have 4 digits on their fingers. Humans, elves, dwarfs, etc. all have 5. Ogres have 5. Halflings and stuff have 5. The lizardmen have 4. The other major race, if memory serves correctly, that have 4 digits are giants. But 4 digits usually seems to suggest that we're dealing with a much, much, much earlier race in like the old one's creation schedule. I'm very curious to know like the finer details about like when specifically they were made, if we'll ever get those details. But I would be if this is true, if they are true, I thought they were going to be a race created by Chaos, more like Beastmen. But if they're truly a old one shaped race, this to me suggests that they might be older than the elves, because they might be closer to the lizardmen in terms of the creation process. Now, granted, where they are in the world, being so close to like the lands of the ogres, who were created as one of the last species, might indicate that maybe they were later on the timetable. But that's very, very fascinating. Let's see. Tales say they were shaped by the old ones alongside many other races, dwelling primarily in the lands known as End. Oh my god, we're talking about End. After chaos swept the world and the old ones vanished, the Tiger Warriors were saved by their chieftain, Kamau, who defied Tzeentch and overcame the god's schemes through sheer nobility and unwavering loyalty to his people. What does that mean? What does that mean? So this to me, this feels like a myth. This feels like a mythological telling. Overcame Tzeentch's schemes through sheer nobility and unwavering loyalty. The thing that pops into my mind is I would guess this suggests that their chieftain, so the leader of the Tiger Warriors during the Cataclysm, Kamau, it sounds like, if I had to guess, to me this sounds like Tzeentch attempted to like maybe elevate them or maybe like enslave them to chaos. Like maybe chaos tried to bind them like they did the dragon ogres, or like what they did with kind of the creation of the beastmen, as we understand beastmen, which this now lines up with my theory, which was that like a year, I think it was 1 year ago, no more than 2 years ago, Games Workshop put out an article on the Warhammer community website where they actually went through the hassle of being like, okay, beastmen is like a really specific term now, where beastmen with a capital B are specifically the like animal, the humanoid animal people, anthropomorphic animals of chaos. Like that's a very specific term now, whereas it used to be a much more broad term. So like the Tigermen are not beastmen, by definition, if you use a capital B. But a lowercase b from people within the universe would still apply, more than likely, though I'm curious to see how they're going to handle that. That's super interesting. Following this, the Highland tribes were led by the first white tiger to fulfill the prophecy of leading them to salvation. Oh, that's super interesting. So the Highlands, okay, we have the Highland tribes. So there's a difference being established here between the Highland tribes of the Tiger Warriors and then the remaining tribes of the Tiger Warriors. And things were so bad for the Highland tribes, like they were in such a bad situation that they had a prophecy of going to salvation, which led to the birth of the first white tiger who led them to Grand Cathay. That's so interesting. I wonder what was so bad that they fled End. Like, I wonder if the Highland tribes are like outcasts from End, or maybe End was going through like a civil war, or maybe like there was a big chaos incursion into End and like shit was on fire, because it says following this, but we know that they don't cross the mountains until after the Warpstone comet from the Great Maw is formed. And if they don't go until after the Great Maw, that gives like several thousand years of time between the cataclysm and the arrival of the Great Maw for like lots of things to happen. I'm curious if we'll get any details about what caused them to leave. Okay, into the Western Land of the Iron Dragon. Here they shaped a life and a legacy on their own terms. Their allegiance to Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, is absolute, but it exists alongside a far older devotion to the White Tiger and their god, Kamau. Ooh, so Kamau. Oh, Kamau is a god. Oh, that's so interesting. So Kamau is the first chieftain that we know of. So he's the first chieftain of the Tiger Warriors, who during the cataclysm faces off against Tzeentch and triumphs. And he ends up becoming a god, because he's not called a god in the original story, he's just called a chieftain. So did he ascend to godhood? For those that don't know, one of the only like big things we knew about End in the old lore is that End is referred to as the land of 1,000 gods. That's like its full title, End, the land of 1,000 gods. And it's completely unknown what the specifics of that are. The closest we ever got is like sometimes the roleplay game would sort of dive into it a little bit, and they would say something along the lines of people from the old world going to End would find it very scary and confusing because the people there had thousands upon thousands of gods, and they could be like everywhere, and it was like, oh, that tree has a god, and that this bridge is protected by a god, and the river under it has a god, and there was like all these gods, and you had to make offerings to them to pass safely. And for the people of the old world, it could come off as super confusing, because they found the people of End to be like very superstitious, because there were like so many gods that they were all like, oh, you gotta be careful not to piss them off. But that is very, very, very interesting. So this appears to be our first god. But the question that I would have that's super interesting is that, was Kamau always a god? So like, is he like the gods of the Empire or the elves? The elves are a better example. Is he like a god of the elves where he has always been a god and he was simply like acknowledged as like, oh, he was the first chieftain of our people. Like maybe he's like the originator of our people, so we acknowledged him as the first chieftain, but he's always been a god. He's always been an etheric entity. Or is he a physical entity? Like, is he a physical flesh and blood creature that has survived for thousands and thousands of years, somehow through magic or an artifact or something, and he's like a living god? Is he like an ancestor god of the dwarfs? You know, was he like a physical being that either is still around, or maybe he departed one day and he's been gone ever since, and he like so they acknowledge him as a god, but he's something, he's like the ancestor god of the dwarves, where he's different than what a human would consider a god? Or is he like Sigmar? Is Kamau like Sigmar, where he was a mortal tiger warrior chieftain, and then after the cataclysm he died to like whatever, you know, he died in battle or natural causes, and then he was ascended to godhood. There's so many different directions they could go with it. I'm fascinated about this. The other part of this that I find really, really interesting, oh my god, there's so much that's really interesting about this, is that worship of gods is like really not cool in Grand Cathay. Like, all of the lore we have about Grand Cathay suggests that you are not supposed to worship gods. Like, that's a big no-no. The dragons do not like that. They don't like the worship of gods within Grand Cathay. But the Tiger Men still worship Kamau. Now, they're mercenaries, so it could be that they're allowed like a bit of an exception, especially because they are loyal to Zhao Ming. And Zhao Ming, as we know, the Iron Dragon, has a very unique relationship with his people compared to the other dragon children. Because Zhao Ming is often like, his siblings look down on him and talk bad about him because he's much more personable. Like, he will take on human form and go and drink and like spend time with his warriors, and he goes and meets with the great lords of other species. So like, he has a good relationship with Grease's Goldtooth. He's you know, he has the idea that they're super loyal to him. To me, makes perfect sense, because Zhao Ming is the kind of dragon that actually comes down and talks to his people. He spends time with them. He gets to know them. He builds camaraderie with them. They're not just tools to serve the Dragon Emperor's will, which is how Miao Ying sees her people. Like, Miao Ying is very cold and aloof, is, you know, the word they use for her constantly. But she's this very distant, dispassionate ruler who very much looks at everyone as like, you have a duty to serve. You have a duty to sacrifice. You know, you live to serve Grand Cathay if you're human. Whereas Zhao Ming's a bit much more like, I love my people. I'm gonna build a relationship with them. I'm gonna be down there on the ground with them. I'm gonna be talking to them, drinking with them, training with them, helping them, teaching them. And we also know that he allows things in Shenyang that are illegal in other parts of Grand Cathay. Like the alchemist of Grand Cathay, the alchemist hero, from the lore that we've received from Total War Warhammer, because the alchemist hasn't shown up yet in the tabletop game, is that the alchemists are fairly forbidden. They're servants at the House of Secrets, and they are pretty illegal in most parts of Grand Cathay. They are not supposed to be a thing. The astromancers are officially like, okay, astromancy is allowed. That's taught by the Celestial Court. According to Yuan Bo, who is mostly representing their father, the Celestial Dragon Emperor, and his authority, they say that, okay, yeah, humans are allowed to use astromancy, but if you're not a Shuken that's the only lore of magic you're allowed. And Zhao Ming's over there in Shenyang being like, I'm gonna let them learn the lore of metal. I'm gonna allow alchemy in my territory. So this could be another scenario where this is once again the case, where in the vast majority of Grand Cathay, the Tiger Warriors are not like, they're frowned upon. The idea of having these bestial warriors that worship a god is very like, oh, that's not supposed to be a thing. But Zhao Ming goes, nope, it's cool, it's fine, I allow it. I love that, because this could provide much more friction between the likes of like Yuan Bo and Zhao Ming. The idea that Zhao Ming has this incredibly loyal base of followers, where you have ogres and tiger warriors and humans that all love him. They love him genuinely. But he's honest to goodness starting to go mad because of the influence of all of the warpstone he spent so much time around over the course of his very long life, and the influence of the Great Maw, which has been whispering to him in his mind. Meanwhile, he also is just the way his personality is. He's much more accepting of change. He's much more adaptable, which fits with the lore of metal. It's the lore of transmutation. It's the lore of alchemy and flowing metals and the ability to adapt. It's a process of change, which fascinating shit. Because of this, their place within the armies of Grand Cathay is a fascinating one. Zhao Ming's forces have always attracted a wide array of mercenary companies, and the Tiger Warriors are a natural presence among them. Their duties are as varied as their heritage, guarding long-distance caravans across treacherous routes, holding strategic outposts against whatever the world throws at them, and when called upon, marching to support other provinces. Sometimes that's at the request of the Iron Dragon or his siblings, and sometimes because Bashiva herself demands it. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Sounds like most of the time they are not helping in the rest of Grand Cathay, but if something big comes up, they will go fight. It should come as no surprise that the Tiger Warriors stand implacably against chaos, and they harbor a particular hatred for the schemes of Tzeentch. This enmity is also held for the Beastmen herds that have long plagued the mountains and jungles they once called home. For the Tiger Warriors, these foes aren't just threats to Grand Cathay, they're affronts to the very lands and traditions their people have fought to protect for generations. So once again, very fascinating piece of lore there. That tells us that End has serious Beastmen problems. So the mountains of heaven and the jungles of End have some unfortunate Beastmen infestations, which is cool and makes sense. So the Tiger Warriors are very opposed to them and hate them. Cool, awesome. I actually find it very interesting that they call out that the Tiger Warriors really despise Tzeentch and his scheming, because one of the things that we've seen about the Monkey King is that the Monkey King is very much portrayed thus far as this trickster entity within Warhammer, right? Like, the Monkey King is such a duplicitous, almost Skaven-like individual, and like how treacherous he is, almost Tzeentchian-like, you might say, that during the time of darkness and disharmony, it reaches its apex a little bit after, funny enough, the Great War against Asvar Kul, when the Monkey King takes the throne of the Celestial City and declares himself Emperor of Grand Cathay. And he's so powerful and so scary that the Dragon Children individually are not capable of beating him. And they have to like team up to even fight him properly. Granted, he has Clan Eshin helping him. But like, for the Monkey King to be as scary as he is, but portrayed in that fashion, to me, that suggests the idea that I would bet the Tiger Warriors probably really hate the Monkey King, which this could tie in well if you know the Journey to the West and like the story, the great epic that influences everything that is the Monkey King, where the Monkey King originally comes from as a concept, and has inspired like so much of modern media because it's like such an epic story, and it very funnily is kind of like one of the original like beating up the monster of the week format stories, even though it's like thousands of years old. One of the big things for the Monkey King in the original myth, or in the original stories, is that he deals with a lot of like really powerful demon kings that are like, they have like different animals. So you have like the one I remember off the top of my head is there's the Bull Demon King, who's like one of the big major antagonists. But the idea that there would be other animal-like creatures that are great enemies or have a very nasty relationship with the Monkey King, or very complicated, we'll say, relationship with the Monkey King, I think would do so well to serving the theming and the stories of the original Journey to the West, of that if we have it where like Kamau if Kamau, the tiger god, and their first chieftain, I really hope it's the case that he like fucking hates the Monkey King. I think it would match up so well if the Monkey King and the Tiger King have like clashed so many times. And the Monkey King is not a chaos figure, to my understanding, because he is supposed to come to Grand Cathay. He's not chaos aligned, but he is a bit of a shit. And the idea that the armies of End and Grand Cathay have him as a sometimes ally, sometimes enemy, I think would just be so excellent. I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. Battle gameplay. Our goal for the Tiger Warriors was to bring something genuinely complementary to Grand Cathay's roster. Units that don't just fill a gap, but open an entirely new way to play the race. Cathay has always leaned towards disciplined lines and deliberate formations, so giving them a force built around agility, stalking, and sudden ambushes instantly changes the feel of their battlefield toolkit. The Tiger Warriors slip into that role perfectly. They're fast, they hit hard when they choose the right moment, and they let Cathayan players pull off flank and surprise attacks like the faction has never really had access to before. From a visual standpoint, they're also some of the coolest characters and units we've ever worked on, and unlike anything that's come before in the series. They've got to be monstrous infantry. They've got to be. If their job is to move fast and hit hard, and they're not cavalry, which I would be willing to bet money they're not cavalry, then they've got to be monstrous infantry to be able to move fast enough. I'm so excited to see them. Bashiva and the Tiger Warriors at a unique crossroads, honoring the culture of their ancestors while embracing the rules and traditions of their new home. That duality shapes their design, making them a familiar yet unique experience for Grand Cathay. God damn, I can't believe we're getting fucking... Oh, the Claw Speaker! Oh, look at him! Oh, I love the design. He's got such, like, you can see the sort of like Indian aesthetic on it, like his weapons. Oh, we have a Tiger Warrior wizard. That's so fucking cool. Lore introduction. Tiger Claw Speakers serve as the wizards of the Tiger Warriors, worshipping the old Indish gods. Oh, we're gonna learn about the gods. I'm so fucking excited. Chief among them, Kamau, the Tiger God. Their magic leans toward the wind of beasts. Obviously, makes sense. Channeling the raw, untamed strength of the wild. In battle, they can swell the ferocity of their own warriors or summon savage creatures from the mountains of heaven to fight at their side. I wonder if they'll have a unique summon for their transformation of cadence spell. For most factions in the game, it summons a manticore, but I know for some of the elven factions, they'll summon a great eagle. I would love for them to summon like a celestial lion or something. Unsurprisingly, faith also runs deep among the Tiger Warriors. Every one of them believes that without Kamau's protection, the Chaos Gods would rise to enslave their race once more. Fascinating. Fascinating. So that implied that they were enslaved once and that Kamau freed them from slavery. That's very, very interesting. So this is not a story. This is not a story of chaos came screeching into the world and Kamau like single-handedly fights Tzeentch's trickery and defeats him and End is saved. It's not like an Anarian situation. This seems to suggest that the Tiger Warriors as a species were completely enslaved. Like they got like the Dragon Ogre treatment, or they got the Famir treatment, or maybe even the Beastman treatment. Like Chaos got its hooks into them and Kamau freed them. Which is we've never had that storyline before. That is a new storyline for the Cataclysm. If we have a race that is dominated by Chaos, so like Chaos either beats them badly enough that it enslaves them, or maybe Tzeentch, maybe it's like a Dragon Ogre situation where there was a pact that was formed or something, but Kamau saves them from that. That is fascinating. For the Claw Speakers, that belief is more than tradition. It is a duty they carry into every spell cast and every battle fought. The other thing I'll say that's really, really interesting to me about this is that the Claw Speakers are an overlap of a priest and a wizard. This is very unusual for humans. Now, it's not unheard of for humans. In Nehekara, the mortuary priests or the lich priests, the priests of the gods and wizards were the exact same thing. So in Grand Cathay, magic and the gods were one and the same. The Empire is very unusual in that wizards and priests are extremely separate. We also see this in places, in most of the old world, to be honest. Like Talea, they're very separate. In Kislev, they're very separate, where you have like, you have the priests of the Great Orthodoxy and the Ice Witches and the Hag Witches and all that stuff. So like most of humanity has it where you have your priests, you have your wizards, and they do not touch. These do not go together. But here we're seeing that the Tigermen are more like the elves, or ancient Nehekara, where the elves, being a priest and being a wizard go hand in hand. Magic is the domain of the gods. It is like your storm weavers and your mist mages are often priests of Mathlan and Lilith, and you have like your man, my brain just like short-circuited really hard. But when you're dealing with an elven priest, they are almost always, not always, but almost always a wizard. Your priestesses of Isha are your life wizards. Your priests of Vol are probably using metal or fire magic. And all these different elven gods and yada yada yada. The regular elven wizards are often considered to be priests or followers of Lilith, of the moon, the goddess of the moon, because she is so interwoven with spellcasting and the good fortune and all this other nonsense. And meanwhile, over for like the dark elves, the sorceresses are often full on, debatably priestesses of like Hakarti, the goddess of dark magic. So this, I love this because I'm curious what exactly the situation is. But this means that as a cultural race, the Tigermen likely do not see a difference between magic and the gods, which is going to be hugely at odds with Grand Cathay, because Grand Cathay is like, no, that is not how that works, which is fascinating. The cultural clashes you could see between the Tiger Warriors and Cathayans is like peak storytelling potential. Battle gameplay. Claw Speakers play a very different role to their spellcaster kin within the Cathayan roster. They move very quickly, deploy forward, so they have Vanguard deployment, and slip into position just ahead of the main army thanks to, oh, there it is, Vanguard deployment. Not to fight, but to shape the battle before it ever begins. Their hybrid role of priestly devotion and raw magical talent also gives Grand Cathay something it has never had access to before. The healing properties of the Lore of Life? Oh god, life magic in Cathay outside of... Dude, Cathay in multiplayer is about to get so strong. Cathay's getting life magic outside of Miao Ying? Oh, Jesus! Paired with spells from the Lore of Beasts and Shadows, the Claw Speaker becomes this incredibly versatile force multiplier. Okay, so this is fascinating. So what this suggests to me that they're doing is that, based on how they worded this, is that a Claw Speaker will have magic from the Lore of Beasts and Lore of Shadows. I would guess those are variants. So you're going to have a Lore of Beasts Claw Speaker and a Lore of Shadows Claw Speaker. For Tiger Wizards, perfect. Those are the best lores for Tigers. Like, perfect, of course. That makes perfect sense. It sounds like the Lore of Life comes from the priestly devotion aspect. Because otherwise, to me, that's why they separate it. So what I'm suspecting we're going to see, what I'm thinking I'm interpreting from this could be wrong. This could be completely wrong. It's just how I'm interpreting this. It seems that they're suggesting that the Claw Speakers are not actually life wizards, but their priest abilities give them access to Lore of Life spells. So they'll kind of be like the Zotes, where but spellcasters. So they'll have their regular spell casting capability. So they'll have like the Lore of Beasts, but they'll also have several bound spells functionally from the Lore of Life. So they might have like, oh, it's got the full Lore of Beasts, and then they've also got they've got 1 cast of Regrowth and 2 casts of Earthblood, as just an example. That's still going to be incredibly powerful. That's going to be so strong for Grand Cathay. Beyond the above, we're also exploring how better to express the Claw Speakers' devout spirituality and how their faith in Kamau shapes their abilities on the battlefield. This work is still ongoing, but we'll have more to share as we get closer to launch. These sound fucking awesome. Tiger Warriors represent that constant tension between the beast they are and the warrior they choose to be. They're not just soldiers, they're that razor-thin line between instinct and discipline. One moment composed and calculating, the next a flash of raw feral fury. Matthew Murdoch, Senior Motion Capture Technician. This also, man, that's so funny. So this definitely means that all of the stuff we were all seeing and people were talking about, where like we all saw there was someone on IMDb who was being credited with doing motion capture for Tiger Warriors. That just straight up, that was just a full-on thing. There we have it. Your first look at Bashiva and one of the formidable Tiger Warrior mercenaries who march at her side. Yeah, I'm assuming all of these units are Tiger Warrior units. I'm assuming. I'm gonna try to see if I can bug CA to give any more specifics about what they mean by 3 unique units. Like, is it gonna be that it's 3 units of Tiger Warriors that are all wielding unique weapon types? Or is it gonna be like they're 3 distinctly different units? Like I would not consider Jade Warriors with halberds and Jade Warriors with swords and shields to be 2 unique units. I would consider that to be 1 unique unit with 2 variants. So I'm going to see if I can get some more clarification on that. Yeah. We're aiming for a late spring release window for this character pack, so probably May. So we'll have plenty to share as we get closer to launch, a full roster overview, details on the new campaign feature, an introduction to the free legendary hero, and more. In the meantime, if you'd like to dive deeper into the lore behind the Tiger Warriors, Games Workshop has put together an excellent dedicated blog. No, I can't click it. Give me the link. Give me the link. Okay, so man, truly early access has given me the worst blue balls I have ever experienced in my life right now. Holy fuck, I'm so excited. I am so excited. Tiger Warriors, they're happening. It's a thing. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I can't wait for the Games Workshop article that's gonna go more into the lore. Hopefully they go deep. I want this. I want to be up. I want them up to their elbow in me with this lore. Like I want to be full puppet mode for this shit. I'm beyond excited. This is huge. Like, this is not a minor thing. Like, I realize, oh yeah, sure, it's a mini pack, whatever, for the video game. But briefly for a moment, fuck the video game. For someone like me, where the lore is paramount, the lore is the most important thing. Like, I love Total War's great. I love it a lot. But like, one day it's gonna end, and I'm gonna, life carries on and all that stuff. The lore of Warhammer is what I'm gonna be having fun with and playing with and experiencing and trying to tell stories with and in for the rest of my life. And this is such a fucking huge deal. This is a entire species that has always existed at the edge of myth for me. And I cannot express how deeply excited and just thrilled I am. They look amazing. They look exactly like how I imagined them, but better. Like the clothing is a lot more like cool and sophisticated. Bashiva looks incredible. The concept of the white tiger is awesome. The fact that we got a huge end times retcon is massive. It gives me a lot of hope for what the storytelling in the old world is going to be doing. I can't wait to find out who's going to be the White Tiger during the time of Azavar Cool. I'm dying to know the GW article. So I'm gonna do another video as soon as that's out, because that one I don't get early access to. That one I have to wait. And as soon as that's out, I'm gonna do a video on it. And also, as soon as I'm allowed to tell them about it, when the article goes live, me and Andy are gonna have to do a stream on this immediately. I'm hoping we could do a stream by the time you see this, maybe even before you have the time to see this. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to pair up with release schedule stuff, but yeah, sorry, I've been rambling for an hour. This is the kind of shit that makes me so excited that it makes me want to fucking cry. You know, oh, there is nothing that brings me more joy than seeing more of the universe get fleshed out, because Warhammer Fantasy can be so much. It has so much potential. It is so much possibility to be just one of the greatest fantasy settings in the world. And for so many years, Games Workshop has just refused to tap into that potential. They've just been so obsessed with just like, oh, fucking Space Marines, oh, more Space Marines, that like they've just done nothing with it. And for Total War to be the thing that finally has gotten them off their ass to start developing Grand Cathay into this beautiful fucking thing and all this stuff. Like, the game's cool. I love the game, but like the game will always be the best game in the world to me because it did this. Because it resulted in my favorite thing ever becoming relevant again, being brought back to life, and growing so much bigger, so much further beyond what it ever was before. Truly, we live in an awesome time to be a Warhammer fan. These are truly the best years to be a Warhammer fan, and I'm so thrilled I've gotten to be along for this entire ride. And I'm sure there's somebody that's gonna hear me saying, "Oh, there's like, oh, he's a fucking shill," or whatever. It's like, fuck you. This is just what makes me happy. I'm just happy. And this stupid goofy ass video game is responsible for getting us to this point. So I'm gonna like him. I'm gonna like him. The game's not perfect. It's not perfect by any god means of the necessary, but thank God it exists. Thank God it exists, and I hope it continue. I hope it keeps going, and I hope we get 10 more years of Warhammer Fantasy Total War. I really hope we get to see End fully realized. I hope we get to see the Naga of Koresh. I hope we get the Hobgoblin Khanate. I hope we get the Southern Realms. I've got to do a video about the Southern Realms because there was a big like data mine thing recently that showed that like there's apparently been a lot more movement with the files from the Southern Realms, which hadn't been touched for quite some time up until recently. So that's kind of a big fucking deal. We got to talk about like the rest of the stuff that was from that leak, where there's like stuff about like ogres, like specialized ogre units coming to Grand Cathay. I think it's like the one-horned ogres from the original Tarmacon story. We got to talk about like End. Like we got to talk about End. Like what the fuck? They're doing stuff with End. Oh my god, End is happening. Like it might not ever come to Total War, but End is happening. It's happening. And that blows my fucking mind. And if End happens, that means Koresh is gonna happen. And if they can do End and Koresh, then they can do Nippon. And if they can do Nippon, they can do the Hobgoblin Khanate. They can do the Hobgoblin Khanate. They can do the fucking Fishmen. If they can do the fucking Fishmen, they can do the Centaurs and Nagaroth. And if they can do the Centaurs and Nagaroth, they can do the Southern Realms. And if they can do the Southern Realms, they can do Araby. If they can do Araby, they can do like actual humans and maybe like a new species of a race or something down the Southlands. And if they can do that, oh, damn. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. So, expect to see a lot more of me in the near future. I genuinely, honest to God, I thought we were getting Li Dao. Like, I was hoping we were going to get like a unit of Tiger Warriors. The fact that the entire fucking pack is Tiger Warriors is like, oh my God, okay. Great, awesome. Couldn't be happier. So, thank you all. I'll see you next time.